Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Cadet First Class Grayson Childress. It is my pleasure to welcome you to NCLS 2026, demonstrating combat and crisis-tested character. This session features Master Sergeant Dustin Goodwin, U.S. Air Force retired. Master Sergeant Goodwin is a supervisory training instructor at the 343rd Training Squadron, Security Forces Academy, Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland, Texas. He oversees the opposing forces section and serves as an instructor for the Combat Leaders course. He is responsible for utilizing current enemy tactics to enhance training for the Basic Defenders course, Basic Officer course, and Advanced Combat Leaders course, delivering training to 5,000 enlisted airmen, 125 company-grade officers, and 8 international students across 9 major commands and 14 partner nations within the Security Forces enterprise. He enlisted in the U.S. Air Force in 2001, served 13 years before medically retiring in 2014. Please join me in welcoming Master Sergeant Dustin Goodwin.
All right. How you guys doing? All right, my name's Dustin Goodwin. You guys can call me Goody. And when I was active duty in the military, my call sign was Viking 2. Before we start today, I just want to thank all you cadets for being here, right? Thank you guys for your commitment to this academy. Or if you came from another university, thank you guys for your commitment to the United States of America. And whether you volunteered or were voluntold to be here today, you guys are in those seats right now for me, so thank you guys very much. I'd also like to thank the Academy for having me and anybody that put on anything for NCLS. This is super amazing what you guys get to see and go through with everything we have out here. Lastly, I'd like to thank my wife for being here. Actually, it's the first event in so many years that she's ever come out and watched me speak. So it's an honor to have her. She's truly my rock. And without her, I would not be up on this stage, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, I wouldn't be here after everything I've been through to come and speak for you guys today if it wasn't for her. So, and it's a plus that she's a hottie. So thanks, babe. I love you. All right, so what are we doing here today, right? Who's Goody? I enlisted in the Air Force. Yep, me. I enlisted in the Air Force in 2001, and right off the bat, I was sent overseas to Korea, and then I went over to England for about 10 years, right? And then I came home stateside before I hung it up, and I was a regional training center instructor, so a pre-deployment trainer instructor out at 𝐋𝐸 Air Force Base in Nevada. While I was in, I did 5 combat deployments, 3 to Iraq, 2 to Afghanistan. A few of them were joint expeditionary task missions, right? So they would train us up in the Air Force and then send us out with our sister services with the Army. I've worked with the 82nd Airborne, the 101st Airborne. The story that I'll tell today, I was with the 101st. So I did a lot of that. Some accomplishments that I had while I was in the Air Force: I was the 12 Outstanding Airman of the Year for the Air Force. I served a year long on the Air Force Enlisted Council with Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Chief Roy. I'm published in the Air Force Portraits and Courage, and I'm also in the Air Force Security Forces Museum, right? So why am I here today? Not just to tell you guys a combat story, right? But to talk about the differences between the physical and the psychological aspects of combat. So we train all the time to do what we're supposed to do. 90% of the time, nothing happens. This 10% of the time, something happened. I was physically ready for it, but psychologically, it wasn't clicking. So where it all started, I was Security Forces, active duty, and I went to Jalalabad, Afghanistan. Who here has seen the movie Zero Dark 30? Right? Where they go get Osama bin Laden, kill him, bring him back to Jalalabad, Afghanistan. That's basically the base I was at this forward operating base. As an Air Force guy, only 9 of us security forces were sent out there to work with the Army. So our ADCON, our administrative control, was Air Force, but our TACCON, our tactical control, was Army. So they owned us. We were out there at the Provost Marshal Office, so basically we were military police. And our job, right, was military police duties for that FOB, but then also some other contingency operating posts out there in Jalalabad area. Our job was to do military police stuff, but then also the base defense plan. When something happens, everybody goes to their predetermined locations. Well, we were supposed to augment wherever something was happening, right? So we were like extra people, because in the base defense plan, right, when everybody goes to their predetermined locations, if everybody goes to where the action's at, you're going to leave gaps in your defense, right? So we were just the extra guys to help. Well, I was MIDS flight chief, so I'd worked all night, and we got hit at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just putting some substance for you guys before we show this video, because it's a condensed, unclassified video of what happened during my firefight. 5 o'clock in the morning, we got hit, right? So that's advantageous for them. Beginning, ending, morning, nautical twilight. That's when they hit us, right? This is stuff that we learn also. And a lot of stuff that we learn, our TTPs, are open source, right? Anybody can look it up. You guys can look up open source stuff for other countries too. So how we got hit was exactly like how we would hit them, right? So they hit us early in the morning. OP 1.5 was taking pop shots, just small arms fire back and forth. We got called. Everybody went to their predetermined locations. We went to where the threat was. Since it was a forward operating base, it wasn't a real built-up base with big walls. It was kind of like 𝐏𝐬𝐲𝐜𝐴 barriers and stuff. And we went up to a platform, probably about this tall, and it had like little castle cutouts you guys will see in the video, and we were firefighting back and forth, back and forth. They were using basic infantry tactics against us. They had 2 PKMs in the tree line, which is just machine guns, right? And they were shooting those while these guys were bounding up when our heads were down. So the video starts in about an hour and a half in, and it gets pretty intense what's going on. But at this time, we're shooting back and forth, back and forth. We get an RPG to the wall, and then we're told that ANA, Afghan National Army, are going to go outside and sweep from the right to the left, right? Well, the guys that were in a firefight, what do you think they're wearing? ANA uniforms, right? Except one of them. This one dude was wearing man garb, didn't get the message, wasn't on the memo, and he got smoked pretty quick, right? But they were wearing the same uniforms that these other guys were wearing that were supposed to be sweeping through. Oh, these other guys were supposed to be wearing glow sticks, right? So we're like, check, right, got it. We didn't know. When this starts right here, you'll see we're engaging, and then that's when these guys are supposed to sweep through. We're going to watch this clip of the video. After the video, I'll talk to you guys about how I was feeling physically, and then where it went to that psychological part. Because like I said, we train all the time, and what you guys are doing out here at this academy is you're training your minds. You're getting fit, and you're training for something to happen. But when it does, and that sympathetic nervous system kicks in, that fight, flight, or freeze, some people freeze when they should be fighting, right? And after the video, we'll talk about how do we combat that, and how do we get to where we're supposed to be. And like, I'm not a doctor, right? So I can't tell you that this is the one fix of what's going on, but I can tell you from experience what worked with me. So right now we're gonna watch a video.
Over the cell phone, Viking 6 was instructed by BDOC to utilize the PAC-4s to laze the target area for air support. When they did, the gunships did not fire.
BDOC, Viking 6, can you confirm with air support they see our markings? BDOC, Viking 6, we just took an RPG at OP 1.5. 0 injuries, engagement is increasing. BDOC, Viking 6, where is the QRF? I need them ASAP. Give me their location and incoming direction. I prefer they sweep from the southwest access road.
At approximately 05:45, 1 hour into the fight, Viking 6 again observed movement near his position.
BDOC, this is Viking 6. I have 3 unidentified personnel coming from the west perimeter fence line, 75 meters from my 12 o'clock position.
BDOC requested Viking 6 confirm whether the 3 personnel were wearing ANA uniforms or had glow sticks.
BDOC, Viking 6. I believe the uniforms are ANA, however I can't see any glow sticks.
Not having positive identification, Viking 6 ordered his team to hold fire until he could determine their status. In hindsight, it was determined that these were insurgent fighters, but Viking 6 made the best decision he could based on the information he had. Not having been engaged, The three individuals continued to move toward the ravine to about 50 meters out and then disappeared into the marsh. As the firefight continued, Viking 6 directed Fire Team 2 to reposition their team and provide backup at OP 1.5. While engaging the insurgent force, a security team member saw a hand grenade appear from directly below his team's position and shouted a warning.
Get down!
The grenade had been thrown by one of two insurgents who had pre-positioned themselves directly below OP 1.5 prior to the start of the attack. The grenade fell on the second step below and behind their position on the platform, but the blast overpressure still threw the team against the perimeter wall. Viking 6 quickly directed his team to get up and immediately re-engage the insurgent force. But by the time the defenders recovered, the insurgent groups had moved up another 25 meters and were now within 75 meters of the west perimeter.
𝐵-Doc, Viking 6, we have AIF directly under our position. We took a grenade over our head. No injuries. What is the ETA of the QRF?
Finally, an Army Sergeant First Class from the Aviation Regiment arrived at OP 1.5 to establish communications with close air support assets. The security force defenders were now outnumbered and outgunned, and the insurgent forces were within 25 meters of the perimeter. The battle became up close and personal, with a heavy volume of small arms fire exchanged at very close quarters. Defenders were able to kill 4 AIF fighters until a second grenade was tossed onto their position, this time landing directly on the platform, with several fire team members within its kill radius. The defenders and Sergeant First Class dove for cover, but the Sergeant First Class and Viking 6 both sustained numerous fragmentation wounds as they were the closest to the grenade. Viking 6 got up to re-engage the enemy, but realized his weapon was disabled due to shrapnel. Viking 4 approached Viking 6, sat him down, and told him he was wounded and needed medical attention. The remaining members of the fire team, Viking 2, 9, and a U.S. Army MP, re-engaged the enemy. Not having been equipped with grenades and having insurgent fighters directly below their fighting position, Viking 2 exposed himself to the insurgents, jumped on the perimeter wall, and fired approximately 10 rounds directly below his position to kill the insurgent fighter throwing grenades onto the platform. With the Army Sergeant First Class injured and unable to perform his duties, Viking 2 radioed 𝐵-Doc, providing an exact position of the insurgent fighters and requested immediate initiation of close air support. 𝐵-Doc authorized 4 close air support runs by Apache helicopters, starting as close as 10 meters from Viking 2's position. After completion of the Apache gun runs, an infantry unit QRF performed sector clearing operations around Firefight. While conducting their sweep, the QRF took fire from an insurgent fighter still hiding in the marsh adjacent to OP 1.5, critically wounding one of their soldiers. A turret gunner from an adjacent QRF MATV unleashed his M2 50 caliber machine gun on the insurgent and killed him. The termination of the engagement coincided with the completion of the sector sweep by the QRF. After-action reports confirm AIF size at approximately 20 fighters. There were 6 U.S. military members wounded in action. Defenders were credited with killing 9 AIF. Numerous unexpended rounds from the insurgents were recovered at the conclusion of the engagement, including 26 hand grenades, 20 PG-7s, 5 suicide vests, 4 AK-47s, 3 PKMs, and 3 RPG-7s.
All right, pretty intense, right? So disclaimer first, I did not get up on the wall like a robot like that and expose myself. Okay, we had these little lanyards called wolf hooks, we call them, on our M4s. So if you have to drop your M4 and transition to your sidearm, you can. So those little castle cutouts, I went over like this, and the Army MP that was with me, who already had a through and through in his bicep, held my gear and held me so I can go over and kill those guys. Viking 6, who got blown up with the grenade, he's actually stationed here at the academy, Colonel 𝐏𝐬𝐲𝐜𝐡𝐨𝐥, right? He's actually stationed here during the academy. He's not able to be here today, but he was yesterday. So if you guys ever see him around campus and stuff, or you know who he is, stop and talk to him. He loves to talk a lot, right? And he'll definitely get you straight. So what was I going through, right? Physically, that's pretty intense. So fatigue sets in, a couple hours in a firefight, doubt sets in. Is my gear good enough? Am I good enough? Am I going to die? Physically, you're just going through the motions. Because we did all of our pre-combat checks, our pre-combat inspections, our battle drills, our rehearsals, so stuff like that you guys will learn, right? And it doesn't matter whatever your AFSC is. If you guys are going to be officers, you're going to be able to lead those people. So physically, everything was done. But psychologically, shooting somebody from here to the speaker, it takes time to connect with your body, right? So the physical aspect of all this stuff is super important. The psychological aspect, I didn't really realize what was going on until a few years later. So a few years later, I was at Creech Air Force Base at a pre-deployment center, and I was an instructor. And they got all of us cadre together, and they had an author come out and visit us. And this author wrote a couple books on combat and on killing. Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, he was an Army Ranger, right? And so he came and talked to us, we ate lunch, and he asked me, and stuff wasn't really clicking in my mind because everything was physical at that time until he came and talked to us. And then it started clicking. So in his books, he talks about the psychological differences from dropping a bomb in an aircraft, right? To shooting somebody with a rifle, to your pistol, to using a knife, all the way down to using your hands to kill somebody, and the psychological differences that it has on you. And some of the stuff he was talking about, kind of made sense in the aspects of how we came from a long time ago till today in our training. Example, the Battle of Gettysburg in the Civil War. Okay, after the Battle of Gettysburg, they started picking up rifles and stuff. A lot of rifles had one bullet left in them, right? And it was probably because they were shooting each other right in front of each other in volleys, right? Just standing there like, hey, whoa, he's going to shoot me now, right? But then they started looking, and then some rifles had 2 rounds left. Some rifles had 3. Some had up to 5 rounds left, which means they were going through the physical motions of their training, doing what they're supposed to be doing, but something wasn't clicking up here to pull the trigger when they had the rifle on somebody. The Battle of Gettysburg had less than a 5% trigger pull rate with pistols. Not cannons or anything, right? With pistols and rifles, like up to like 8% trigger pull rate. World War II, somewhere around 20 to 25% trigger pull rate. Vietnam, I don't know what was going on there, but they were getting it, 90% trigger rate, right? And then now today, in Iraq and Afghanistan, they say that 15 to 25% of people have actually been in combat using their rifle or pistol. Out of those 15 to 25%, 80 to 90% people today pull the trigger. So how did we get from here to here? And it starts with what you guys are doing now. 1, we learn off of doctrine, right, from the past. But 2, training. We combat that sympathetic nervous system, right? Because there's something in your brain, the HPA axis and your sympathetic nervous system work together. When you see something, stranger danger, your body involuntarily fight, flights, or freeze. So with the training that we do in the military, we kind of rewire that, right? So we can fight when we're supposed to be fighting, flee when we're supposed to be fleeing, and so on and so forth. So you do the right thing. Does it always happen? No. I seen professional tough guys when I was in Jalalabad freeze. Your body involuntarily does it. But that's how we got from Gettysburg to where we're at now, through training. Maybe in Gettysburg they were shooting at bales of hay or just learning how to load. And then we started using silhouettes. We started using pop-up targets. Our training aids got better. We started using simunitions, right? Miles gear, something that associates pulling the trigger. Nowadays, what do we have? Look at the video games. Nowadays, video games, it's socially acceptable to kill your grandma on a video game. You know what I mean? So we're associating it with that. So after Colonel Grossman came and talked to us, I was like, oh my gosh, now it's starting to click. This is why things were happening. It's not always about the physical aspect of it. That's super important. Being physically fit, right, and being ready is part of that. Pre-combat checks, pre-combat inspections, battle drills, rehearsals, all that. But the whole person concept with the psychological aspect makes it even better, right? You guys are going to get there. And I heard about your guys' workload here at the Academy. You guys do a lot of stuff, right? So thank you very much for doing it. I have 3 things for you guys, okay? 3 things. The first one is, just because of the uniform that you guys are wearing and the rank you're going to receive once you're done with this academy or your university, you will be expected to make competent decisions instantaneous, right? Right when you get there, you're going to be leading people as a second lieutenant, first lieutenant, based off that rank. So remember the whole person concept. Also, know this. That uniform that you're wearing, there's people all around the world right now, all around the world, that are training every single day to kill you. And that's the hard truth that nobody wants to listen to. Every single day, somebody would love to kill an American soldier or airman. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're flying. It doesn't matter if you're working at the MPF. You represent the United States of America. Wearing that uniform, you already chose your side. Right? Like we're training every day, they're training every day. Okay, so when you guys are out here, and if you guys are doing an FTX next month or out in the field training, when you're cold, wet, tired, and hungry, and you're feeling sorry for yourself, stop. Absolutely stop. Number 2, there's managers and there's leaders in this world. I can train every single one of you to be a manager. Not every single one of you can become a leader. If you are a leader, have some humility. Know your people. If you're a manager, don't be a micromanager. Nobody likes that. Right? And get out and know your people. If you're either or, get out and know your people. Know what everybody does. The biggest problem that I had in the Air Force when I was active duty is single points of failure. Go into an office and somebody's saying, oh, I can't do that. They only have access to this. You know, da-da-da. And I'm like, where's so-and-so? Where's so-and-so? Right? Single points of failure. So whether you're a manager or leader, and it's fine if you're just a manager, be the best manager that you are. And sure, there's formulas to make you a leader or a manager, but we don't have name tapes on our desk that says, hi, I'm a manager, I'm a leader, right? We kind of just know who's a manager and who's a leader. But everybody can become a manager. Not everybody will become a leader. Okay? Number 3, a few months ago, my wife and I were spending some quality time on the couch, hanging out, you know, scrolling through some reels or something. And there was this guy outside of a bar, and he was interviewing people, right? I don't know if it's in Nashville or whatever. And this young man came out about your guys' age, right? Came out of the bar and looked like he had a great time. This guy did. And the interviewer guy looked at him and he said, if you can give an audience advice in your age group, what would it be? And without missing a beat, the kid looked right into the camera and he said, if you want to spend money without checking your bank account, you better know how to work without looking at the clock. And then walked off like a boss. And I was like, wow, that kid was drunk. And he just spewed that, right? But it's true. Everybody's so worried about when they're getting off or about what they're doing or about, anything else. Think about this, going back to people in other countries that are training every day. Do you think they're taking time off? You think they're looking at the clock, clocking out? They're not. They're invested to disrupt our operations and hopefully the end game to kill one of you guys. So hopefully the differences between the physical aspect and the psychological aspect, I put a little bit into perspective for you guys today. Okay, I think we're gonna.
Thank you, Master Sergeant Goodwin.